I'm Nathan Cones here with your look at the midday news for this Thursday, August 27th, 2026. Regional unemployment rates slipped on average by 0.3 percentage points from June to July, according to data released this week by Iowa Workforce Development. Audubon County led the 7-county region with the lowest rate at 2.4%, 0.3 points higher than June, but more than a half point improved from July of last year. Carroll County followed close behind at 2.5%. That's 0.2 of a point above the previous month and even with last year's jobless rate. Sac County was unchanged from June at 2.8% and is 0.6 points improved from last July. Guthrie County saw their unemployment climb 0.2 of a point to 2.9%, which is still more than a half point below July of last year. Calhoun County's unemployment rate stood at 3.2%. That's 0.4 points higher than the prior month, but 0.2 points below last year. Greene County's unemployment climbed to 4% on the nose, which is 0.3 points higher month to month and a half point above last year. Crawford County again recorded the highest unemployment for the area at 4.1%. That's 0.4 points higher than June and 0.2 points below July of last year. Overall, unemployment rates for the region are averaging 0.2 of a point lower than last summer, and Greene County is the only county to see unemployment rates increase in the past year. County figures are not seasonally adjusted and compared to state and national rates, which stood at 3.2% and 4.1% respectively, trended lower. A link to the Iowa Workforce Development complete county-by-county data set is included with this story on our website. Looking elsewhere, gas prices in Iowa dipped slightly but still held above the $4 mark in this week's report from the Iowa Department of Agriculture and Land Stewardship and AAA Iowa. As of Wednesday, August 26th, the average price for a gallon of regular unleaded gasoline dropped 10 cents to $4.03. That's still $1.15 higher than a year ago. The national average on Wednesday was up 1 cent to $4.10 per gallon. In retail diesel, Iowa prices averaged $5.41 per gallon, a 16-cent increase for the week and $1.89 above last year's average at this point in the year. The national average for diesel on Wednesday of $5.62 per gallon stood 21 cents above Iowa's average. Diesel prices have a direct impact on consumer goods as most products are delivered by semi-tractor trailers, which obviously run on diesel. Turning to the Des Moines terminal, E10 was at $2.84, unleaded 87 was $3.31, ULSD number 2 was $4.24, ULSD number 1 was $4.45, and E70 was at $2.46. Natural gas prices at the Henry Hub reporting site were up 6 cents to $2.91 per MMBTU. And just a quick reminder that Iowa Highway 37 near Dunlap in Crawford County will close in both directions for 1 day next week as crews repair a railroad crossing. According to the Iowa Department of Transportation, the state highway will be blocked to through traffic from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. on Tuesday, September 1st, weather permitting, between 130th Street and U.S. Highway 30. The closure is part of a joint project between the Iowa DOT and Union Pacific Railroad Company. Motorists traveling from Iowa 37 and 130th Street, that intersection there, should follow a marked detour southwest to 111th Street, also known as Remsen Street, and then back east on U.S. Highway 30. As is the case for all road construction projects, the DOT urges drivers to slow down, obey work zone signs, and leave sufficient space between vehicles. Traffic fines for moving violations are at least doubled in Iowa work zones. Travelers can also check on current road conditions and construction updates throughout the state using Iowa 511 at 511ia.org. You can call 511 within Iowa or visit the state's 511 mobile app. And we are going to need to step away just for a minute, though. We'll be right back. More news coming up after this on KCIM.
Backpacks are packed, practices are starting, and suddenly the family calendar is full again. When back-to-school routines leave little time for dinner, let A&W of Jefferson make one thing easy. Order ahead with the A&W app. Swing by and pick it up, and dinner is handled. Burgers, chicken, fries, cheese curds, and of course, an ice-cold A&W root beer. Perfect for the drive home, between activities, or those nights when cooking just isn't happening. Make your busy school nights a little easier with A&W of Jefferson.
Now at New Way Ford, we're offering Ford Blue Advantage certified pre-owned vehicles. What's that mean for you? Your vehicle passes a strenuous 139-point inspection, comes with a 3-month or 4,000-mile warranty for peace of mind, competitive financing, and 11,000 Ford Pass points to use on your next scheduled maintenance. Ford Blue Advantage is available on many different makes and models on the lot, and you can see which ones qualify by checking out newwayford.com or visiting New Way Ford in Coon Rapids or Pocahontas. Take the worry out of buying a car and get your certified pre-owned vehicle from New Way Ford.
Welcome back to KCIM's Midday News. I'm Nathan Cones reporting. The Carroll Community School District Board of Education voted unanimously yesterday to bring its district facility plan to the ballot and to voters in November. The board was set to meet on Tuesday, but had to reschedule due to some postage and public notification mishaps. Pretty well taken care of, though, when they moved the meeting from Tuesday to Wednesday. Following a petition that was signed by at least 25% of Carroll voters who participated in the last school election, the board did acknowledge receipt of that petition and then opted and voted for a special election to be held on the midterms for a general obligation bond up to $51 million. The district facility plan is part of a long-term effort to consolidate CCSD from 4 campuses to 3, with the closure of Adams Elementary being the end goal. That vote did pass 4-0. Board member Jill Johnston was not in attendance at yesterday's special meeting. The election will be held on November 3rd, 2026, the same date as the midterms. At a recent meeting, the Manning City Council established an ordinance allowing them to set social districts for alcohol consumption in what would otherwise be considered public spaces. Manning City Clerk and Administrator Don Meyer says this ordinance comes in light of legislative changes at the state level that went into effect this July.
There have been different recruitment efforts over the years, and we're talking with one company right now that basically has asked us to put together a proposal for them.
These ordinances are activated by the city at its discretion on a case-by-case basis. The date, duration, and area of each of the social districts, as they're known, are determined based on each event.
Basically, they've agreed that they would participate through TIF, tax increment financing. Basically, we can give a portion of that company's taxes back to them for a period of years to help incentivize their build here.
The first established social district in Manning will be for Oktoberfest, which is coming up later this fall. The Iowa Poison Control Center is setting up a program to provide round-the-clock clinical advice to healthcare professionals treating patients who've overdosed on opioids or have an opioid addiction. It's financed with a grant from the state's opioid settlement fund, which is getting $186 million from pharmacy chains and drug companies. Dr. Daniel McCabe, medical director of the Iowa Poison Control Center, says the center has always been available to provide advice about treating patients with substance use disorders, but the grant will help set up a more formal process.
To provide guidelines to bedside teams, to provide local support and connect them to local providers that can see these patients as outpatients. So it just felt like a perfect marriage to use the opioid settlement funds to truly help Iowans throughout the state.
The program is called iBeacon. It will not only make clinicians like Dr. McCabe available for consultations, but will also provide advice about a medication called buprenorphine that's used to treat patients with an opioid use disorder.
Getting them in treatment allows them to function better within their family, have better relationships with their family and friends, allows them to function better at work, contribute to their neighborhoods and their community. So this is just a safe way to not only keep people alive, which is our number one goal, but allow people to re-enter their life.
While many doctors can themselves prescribe buprenorphine to treat a patient with an opioid addiction, they may not be able to get immediate advice from an expert on how to monitor a patient's use or treat an adverse reaction. McCabe says the Iowa Poison Control Hotline will now be that 24/7, 365 days a year as a resource.
We can help guide them through the dosing and all the other effects that they should be waiting for. We're trying to build a database of all the prescribers in the state that can see these patients after the fact. Because if we merely just start the medication and no place for these patients to follow up with in a couple weeks, then we're only putting a Band-Aid on the situation.
McCabe, who's an emergency medicine specialist at the University of Iowa Healthcare, says ERs throughout the state see numerous patients every day who suffer from opioid use disorders. The Centers for Disease Control estimate about 17,000 Iowans have become addicted to opioids in recent years. The latest report from the Iowa Department of Public Safety shows there were 172 opioid-related deaths in Iowa in 2024. And with that, we're going to be wrapping up your KCIM Midday News for this Thursday, August 27th, 2026. I'm Nathan Cohns reporting.